Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nips every day in order to get some of that dirty YouTube money to be able to afford to provide you folks in-person hands-on technology education in Durham, North Carolina. Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. We do classes. We are going to have a class on AI and SQL coming up on November 5th, a class on AI and web scraping coming up on November 19th. If you're interested in those, take a look at silicondojo.com. Do remember, free to the user is not actually free. If you'd like to support what I'm doing with those classes, there is a donor box link down below. And with that, who could have seen this coming? Oh my golly. Who could have possibly seen this disaster coming? Here's my question. If I'm just a dumbass in my basement screaming into a camera, what does that make the EU politicians? What does that make the EU politicians? So I've been talking about this whole disaster going on between the United States and China. Europe, being the good little fucking lapdogs that they are, decided that they are gonna bite China's ankles for some good goddamn reason. And so now everything is kind of sort of going to hell. Hey, Europeans! Are you tired of Americans making fun of you? Are you tired of arrogant Americans laughing at you? Why don't you say, Yankee go home? Yankee go home. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if the Europeans all as one stood up and said, Yankee go home? But they won't. They will bitch and moan and cry and complain about the United States all day long as they demand our people defend their asses. Anywho. The latest thing is, so with the whole disaster between China and the United States and now Europe nipping at China's heels is the Netherlands seized this company called Nexperia. So Nexperia produces chips that are used in cars for manufacturing, basically large, cheap, robust chips that are used in manufacturing. So the Netherlands seized the headquarters. Right, and apparently, so the headquarters in the Netherlands, there are there are factories in Europe that produce the chips. But the interesting thing is those chips, or the silicon, is then sent to China for packaging. And when I talk about packaging, I don't mean boxes. I don't mean packaging like this. It's actually packaging the chip itself. So if you look at of course, I don't have a processor. Anyways, so if you look at a processor, here, right? Like this is the kind of the packaging, actually putting it into the usable unit, right? So in the Netherlands, they have the lawyers and the PR people and that type of thing. In other factories around Europe, they produce the silicon itself, and then they ship that to China for the final product. Now, again, the important thing to be thinking about with anything in technology is none of this is worth anything until you have a final product. Until you have something that you can actually hand to a customer that they can use, then that is not worth anything, right? No matter how much money you spent, no matter how smart your engineers are, or whatever else, right? If somebody just handed me a wafer, apparently TSMC and NVIDIA just produced the first Blackwell wafer down in Arizona. That's gonna get shipped to Taiwan for packaging. And that's the thing, it's a wafer. It's like, hey, look, we've got wafers. That wafer can be turned into a $40,000 GPU, but that wafer itself isn't really worth $40,000 until it gets turned into a GPU. So anyways, the issue is China basically, since their company was seized by the Netherlands, has told the Chinese packaging factories to not ship any finished output to Europe. And this was all done by Holland, by Netherlands, by the EU for national security, right? China could affect their auto industry. Ergo, they had to nationalize the company to make sure their auto industry was secure. Oh, fuck. This is the problem we have with modern politicians that are dumb. They just you might have actually tried to figure out Nexperia's supply chain before you did something this stupid, but Anyways, who am I? I'm this guy in my basement. And so now Bosch and other companies are now warning of furloughs. So apparently, again, in the modern world of inventory control, we use something called just-in-time shipping. So basically, instead of having big warehouses where you have a lot of inventory, companies only buy what they need. And so nobody was really expecting this whole disaster to happen. And so car companies are running out of these processors relatively quickly. And the people that produce equipment for the car companies are running out of these processors. So it looks in pretty short order that Europeans are going to be out of work because they're not going to have the products they need to create, their finished product. Bosch warns production at risk as Nexperia dispute hits auto suppliers. China has banned exports of Nexperia's finished products, which are widely used in car parts, in response to the Netherlands seizing control of the company. So to save our auto industry, we must destroy our auto industry. German car parts supplier Bosch is preparing to furlough staff. Now think about this. They're all right. So when I say this is October 24th, this is all going relatively quickly. They're already looking at furloughing staff over this. Furlough staff at its Salzgitter plant if a trade dispute between China and the Netherlands over Dutch chipmaker Nexperia is not resolved soon amid mounting concerns in Europe's beleaguered car industry. Bosch and other suppliers are scrambling for alternatives after China banned exports of Nexperia's finished products in response to the Netherlands seizing control of the company, whose Chinese owner, Wingtech, has been flagged by the United States as a possible national security risk. They are a possible security risk. So we are not going to have a possible security risk. We're just going to make it an out-and-out security risk. Because Nexperia's chips are widely used in car parts, the standoff risks adding to problems for Europe's car-making sector on top of U.S. tariffs and Chinese curbs on rare earth exports. That's the other thing to be thinking about with all the dominoes falling. I talk about with the economy when things start to go sideways. So not only this thing with Nexperia is going on, but remember, we've got tariffs against Europe, so that's causing problems. China has their curbs on rare earth minerals. That's causing problems. And then on top of all that, we have Nexperia. Well, we are doing everything we can to serve our customers and avoid or minimize production restrictions, a Bosch spokesperson said. Quote, we have not yet made any adjustments to work hours at our German locations, but are preparing to do so, particularly in Salzgitter, she said, adding that potential furlough measures were being prepared at the plant. So they're actually going through the preparations, right? Salzgitter is Bosch's leading plant for motor control units for combustion and electric vehicles and employs about 1,400 staff. Early on Friday, Volkswagen said it secured production in Germany for this coming work week across the group, which includes core VW brand and luxury subsidiary Porsche. But think about this. So Volkswagen comes out and says they've secured production for a week. It's okay, everybody. We have at least a week of stock. And then the thing to be thinking about, again, like with Bosch, right? You don't buy a Bosch car. Like you're like, Eli, we're talking about the auto industry and you're talking about Bosch. First you're talking about Nexperia, then you're talking about Bosch. What does this have to do with the auto industry, right? Because Bosch produces parts. So they take the chips, they put those chips into other units. Those units then get sold to the auto manufacturers. And so the thing to be thinking about, right? If Bosch starts furloughing employees at their one factory, that means their factory is not producing that particular item, which means whoever uses that item for their finished goods, they're not going to be able to produce either, which means more people are going to get furloughed and laid off. Quote, in view of the dynamic situation, however, short-term impacts on the production network of the Volkswagen Group cannot generally be ruled out, a spokesperson said. BMW and Mercedes have also warned that their supplier networks are affected. A regional representative of Germany's IG Metall union warned on Friday of a worsening situation. Some automotive suppliers are already seeing, quote, severe difficulties and have started to announce furlough schemes for workers. Horst OT, IG Metall, district manager in the southern state of Bavaria, said at the industry event in Munich. Bosch said it was drawing on alternative suppliers and optimizing inventories in its global production network in a bid to prevent production stoppages. Industry sources say switching suppliers is possible with Infineon, NXP, and Texas Instruments possible alternatives, but this takes time due to the approval process. So think about this too with these processors, right? When you're dealing with cars Cars aren't smartphones. Cars aren't computers. Cars aren't televisions, right? If you're producing a television, you can't get a processor from one place. You just buy a processor in another place. If you have a higher rate of failure on that particular line of televisions, maybe it costs you a lot in warranty, maybe it costs you in brand value or whatever else, but you can still keep producing the goods. Here's the thing, when you're selling things like cars go through a regulatory process, right? This is the whole thing I talk about. Like if you've ever dealt with government, if you've ever tried to build something like a bathroom in your house, right? Permitting processes, all of that kind of stuff is a real problem. It is a real drag, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for cars, right? Depending on where these chips are going in on the cars, right? If vehicles have to get recertified around these new chips that are going in, not only is there a delay because they actually have to get the chips and do the engineering or whatever else, but then they actually have to get the approval process. How long is that gonna take? Anyways, so that's what we're currently looking at. Furloughs are now basically on the table in Europe, and from what it seems like, the layoffs and the furloughs are probably on the table here in the United States too. So it'll be, as I say, my buzzword for this month is it'll be interesting to see what will happen next. How stupid is this all going to get? And this is all basically political decisions. Decisions made by politicians who seem to have no fucking clue what the hell is going on. That's what this mess is being created by, and the whole deal too, like the fact that it's shutting down and it's furloughing factory workers in Europe. I think that's one of the things that gets missed out on. Like so many of the products that are manufactured in like the Western world, they use components from China, right? If I'm manufacturing, let's say, this little remote control thing here in the United States, right? What if I get my rubber buttons from China? Right? China is just the easiest place to get rubber buttons from. And the thing is, like, does that mean there can't be an American rubber button manufacturer? No, you can definitely manufacture buttons in the United States or in Europe or Canada or whatever else. But it takes time. It takes time, right? Somebody has to figure out that there's a need for the rubber buttons. Then they actually have to go out and they have to get financing, money people to get the money to build a rubber button factory. Then they have to sell and figure out how to scale up selling those rubber buttons. So even if the idea is, well, in 2035, we will have economic rubber button independence from China. It's like, yeah, but from between here and 2035 is gonna suck ass. But anywho, this is all it's just so stupid and it's so chaotic. And it's my country causing it. Again, got Trump right now. Trump is putting an additional 10% tariff onto Canada because they don't like the ad that just got created. They used Reagan's words to show how Reagan would not agree with what Trump is currently doing, and because that made him sad, they're now getting a 10% additional tariff. Right? We've got the threat of 100% tariff on China starting November 1st. That's getting closer by the day. It's October 26th right now. It's like a week. Is that a week? A week from now, there could be 100% stacking tariff on China. I don't know. Who would have thought? Who would have thought one senile loser in the White House could have this much effect over the global economy? It's a hell of a thing. So yeah, it'll be curious to see what happens. As I say with MAGA, MAGA really likes the phrase "go woke, go broke." Right? They won't shut up about "go woke, go broke." Yeah, well, MAGA's gonna learn fuck around and find out. I think what's hilarious with MAGA is they're like strutting around. Yeah, fuck around and find out. Like, okay, I mean, yeah, you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out. I don't know why you're so proud and excited about all this, but God bless, I suppose. God bless. I don't know. So what do you think about this? What do you think about just the disaster between the Western world and China? What do you think about, again, the American politicians or the Western politicians that don't seem to have a fucking clue what's going on? Again, even if they wanted to do things that make sense, like this just doesn't make sense. I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and do it down there in that comment section. Do remember my real pride and joy is Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. Free to use your hands-on technology education that empowers you to do what you need to do. Again, that's what we need to do. We need to empower the American people. Hey, could we spend this much effort empowering the American people? That would be nice. Anyways, but we do those classes in Durham, North Carolina. We're having a class on AI and SQL coming up. We're having another class on AI web scraping coming up on November 19th. If you're interested, take a look at silicondojo.com. Free to the end user is not actually free. There's a donor box link down below if you'd like to throw a couple of dollars in there. And with that, see y'all later.